You are holding your breath, not because you are underwater, but because the air in the room feels rationed, and you are terrified of consuming more than your share. It is a specific, muscular contraction in the center of the chest, a permanent inward collapse designed to minimize your physical volume. You navigate the physical world like a ghost in a crowded theater, moving sideways through doorways, softening your footsteps, and preemptively apologizing for occupying space that was already empty. You have trained your body to exist in a state of zero impact, a biological mandate that dictates you must leave no trace, make no sound, and above all, create no friction. This is not politeness. This is a survival reflex. You feel the impulse to speak, to ask for the water, to mention the cold, to admit the fatigue. But before the signal can travel from your brain to your throat, a gate slams shut. The logic engages instantly. If you ask, you become a task. If you speak, you become a weight. If you require, you become a burden. So you swallow the need, metabolizing the discomfort in silence, smiling that practiced, thin smile that signals, "I am low maintenance," to a world that isn't even watching. You are drowning in plain sight, yet your primary concern is not your own oxygen supply, but whether your thrashing might splash the person standing dry on the shore. It is a paradox of existence, where your safety depends entirely on your ability to effectively erase yourself. You crave connection, yet you treat your own needs as contraband, smuggling them deep into the subconscious, where they cannot inconvenience anyone. You have become an expert at the architecture of your own absence, building a life where you are technically present, but functionally invisible. You wait for permission to exist that never comes. The world looks at your silence and calls it peace. They look at your inability to ask for help and call it independence. Society has drafted a very specific set of accolades for your condition, labeling you as easygoing, low maintenance, or the chill friend. They praise you for your lack of friction, completely unaware that your smoothness is the result of you grinding yourself down to dust so that no one else gets scratched. You are celebrated for being the one who has it all together, the reliable anchor in a chaotic sea. But this reputation is a prison. To them, your lack of needs looks like strength. However, it is actually a form of preemptive surrender. You have convinced everyone around you that you are a self-sustaining ecosystem, requiring neither input nor care. You are the listener, the fixer, the one who absorbs the emotional runoff of others, while yours stagnates in a hidden reservoir. You attend the dinner, you smile at the jokes, you agree with the plans you hate, and you perform the role of the good citizen with Academy Award-winning precision. The theatre is exhausting. You believe you are being considerate, yet you are actually being dishonest. By hiding your needs, you are denying those around you the reality of who you are. You are presenting them with a two-dimensional cardboard cutout, a pleasant fiction that smiles and nods and never, ever complicates the plot. You are terrified that if you drop the mask, if you show the messy, needy, demanding human beneath, the audience will walk out. So you keep the performance running 24 hours a day, maintaining the illusion of effortless competence while your internal structural integrity begins to buckle. You are purchasing their affection with the currency of your own disappearance. You assume that by making yourself small, you are making yourself lovable. But the tragedy is that they do not love you. They love the convenient vacancy you have created where a person should be. You are safe from rejection, perhaps, but you are also safe from connection. And in the quiet moments between the acts, when the applause dies down, you begin to suspect that the price of admission to this social circle is your own soul. It starts as a small tax, a skipped preference here, a swallowed opinion there, a gentle nod when you wanted to scream. You think these are minor concessions, small coins tossed into the fountain of social harmony to keep the waters clear. However, the math of self-betrayal works on compound interest. Over a decade, These small deductions accumulate into a bankruptcy of the self so profound you can no longer locate your own center. You have spent so many years adjusting your frequency to match the room that you have forgotten your own broadcast signal. You become a mirror, reflecting everyone else's light while standing in the dark. The exhaustion you feel is not merely physical fatigue, it is existential depletion. It is the specific, heavy tiredness of a border guard patrolling the perimeter of your own psyche 24 hours a day, checking every thought for the contraband of selfishness before allowing it to cross into speech. Access denied. The unexpressed needs pile up in the warehouse of your subconscious, slowly rotting in the silence. You become heavy with the weight of unsaid words and unlived moments. You watch others move through the world with a lightness you cannot comprehend, taking up space, making noise, demanding attention without apology. You resent them for their freedom. Then, you hate yourself for the resentment. The cost is not just silence. The cost is definition. You eventually lose the ability to distinguish between what you actually want and what you think others want you to want. The boundary dissolves. You look at a dinner menu and genuinely cannot choose because your hunger has been trained to wait for a consensus. You look at a free weekend and feel panic, not joy, because without a directive from someone else, you have no operating instructions. You have outsourced your volition to the collective, becoming a vessel for everyone else's agenda. You are the perfect friend. You are the perfect employee. You are a ghost. You have hollowed yourself out to make room for everyone else, only to realize that a hollow structure eventually collapses under the weight of the air around it. The tragedy is that this erosion is invisible to the naked eye. To the world, you look constant, reliable, unchanged, perhaps even more stable than ever. Yet inside, the sediment is rising. The silence is getting louder. The isolation is absolute because no one can rescue a prisoner who insists they are free. This state of emptiness is not an accident or a random misfortune. This was a trade you made, long ago, when you decided that being known was too dangerous, and being useful was the only safe harbour available. You likely view this behaviour as a character defect, a lack of spine, or a failure of self-esteem. You look in the mirror and see a doormat. However, biology tells a completely different story. What you are experiencing is not a personality flaw. It is a high-performance neurological directive. This is not weakness. This is the anterior cingulate cortex operating at maximum capacity to save your life. Your brain is hardwired with a primal equation. Proximity to the tribe equals survival, and isolation equals death. In our ancestral past, to be a burden was to risk expulsion, and to be expelled, to be cast out into the wilderness alone, was a death sentence. Your nervous system does not understand that you live in a modern world with Uber Eats and central heating. It is still operating on the logic of the Paleolithic savannah. It perceives the act of inconveniencing others not as a social faux pas, but as a direct threat to your biological existence. When you contemplate asking for help, your brain's social threat detection system flares to life. It predicts a negative outcome, a sigh of annoyance, a furrowed brow, a momentary hesitation, and it categorizes these microsignals as precursors to exile. To prevent this, your amygdala initiates a rapid response protocol often ignored in standard fight or flight models, the Fawn response. This is a masterpiece of adaptation. It is a preemptive appeasement strategy designed to neutralize threat by merging with the aggressor's desires. You do not fight the threat, and you do not flee from it. You become useful to it. You scan the room for emotional currents, adjusting your behavior to maintain the group's homeostasis at the expense of your own. This is hypermentalization. You are constantly running simulations of other people's minds, calculating their fatigue levels, their tolerance thresholds, and their potential reactions to your needs. You are doing the cognitive labor of 10 people to ensure that no one feels the weight of your existence. Your self-erasure is not a malfunction. It is a sophisticated security clearance system designed to keep you inside the city walls. It is a logic of absolute efficiency. If I need nothing, I cannot be rejected for needing too much. If I am the giver, I can never be the debtor. But this mechanism relies on a critical error. It assumes that the only value you bring to the tribe is your utility. It assumes that your presence is a tax that must be paid for with service. It creates a closed loop where you can never test the loyalty of the tribe because you never give them the burden to carry. You are safe, yes. You are kept within the borders. Yet you must ask yourself a question that your biology cannot answer. You tell yourself that you are a giver. You define yourself by your capacity for empathy, your boundless patience, and your ability to tolerate discomfort for the sake of others. You believe this is your moral compass. However, this is not morality. This is trauma-bonded vigilance. You must separate your identity from your adaptation. The person you call me is actually a collection of defense mechanisms that calcified into a personality. This refusal to take up space is not a reflection of your humility. It is a reflection of your safety strategy. You are not low maintenance by nature. You are low maintenance by necessity. You learned, likely very early, that having needs created instability in your environment. So you became an expert at stabilizing the room by removing yourself from the equation. This is not who you are. This is a panic room you built so long ago you forgot to install a door. The tragedy of this mechanism is the paradox it creates in adulthood. The very tool that ensured your survival in the past is the exact weapon destroying your life in the present. The shield has become a cage. By refusing to be a burden, you are actively preventing the only thing that sustains human life: reciprocal intimacy. You are starving yourself to feed people who aren't even hungry. You are guarding a fortress that is no longer under attack. You are treating your friends like volatile explosives that must be handled with gloves, and treating your partners like fragile glass that will shatter if you lean on them. This is not kindness. It is a profound lack of trust. You do not trust them to handle your reality. You do not trust them to love you when you are heavy. You are not a saint. You are a hostage negotiator for a war that ended 20 years ago. The survival script runs on a loop, deaf to the changing context. It whispers that safety requires silence. But you are starting to realize that safety without a self is just a comfortable form of death. This mechanism is not a jacket you take off when you get home. It is the skin you live in. It has metastasized, spreading from specific social interactions into the microscopic details of your private existence, colonizing 4 distinct environments until there is nowhere left to hide. 1. The solitude. You are finally alone in your apartment, the one place where the performance should theoretically end. But the audience is still in your head. You lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, and the internal post-game analysis begins. You replay every interaction of the last 12 hours, scanning the mental footage for micro-errors. Did you talk too much at lunch? Did that joke land, or was the laughter polite? Did you ask for a ride when you should have taken an Uber? You prosecute yourself for social crimes no one else even noticed. Even in the shower, you are not truly present. You are drafting scripts for future conversations, rehearsing your lines so that when the moment comes, you will be perfectly frictionless. The silence of the room does not bring peace, it brings review. You are the defendant, the judge, and the jury in a trial that never recesses, analysing your own existence for evidence of selfishness. 2. The digital space. This vigilance migrates to your phone, transforming communication into a minefield of potential burdens. You type a simple text message asking for a favour, then pause. You delete it, you rewrite it. You add an exclamation point to soften the tone, then a ha-ha to ensure you don't sound demanding, then an emoji to signal playfulness. You stare at the blinking cursor, paralysed by the possibility that your request might interrupt someone's workflow. Transmission delayed. When you receive a text, you wait 10 minutes to reply so you don't seem desperate, or you reply instantly so you don't seem difficult. Every digital interaction is a high-stakes diplomatic negotiation, where the goal is not clarity, but neutrality. You are terrified that a period placed incorrectly will be read as aggression, so you flood the channel with softness, effectively apologizing for the act of communication itself. 3. The transition. The space between environments, the commute, the parking lot, the elevator ride, becomes a decompression chamber for your anxiety. You sit in your car outside the venue for 10 minutes, gripping the steering wheel, manually lowering your heart rate before you can walk through the door. You are not just arriving, you are booting up the operating system. You check your face in the mirror, ensuring the mask of the easygoing friend is securely fastened. You take a deep breath, pushing the fatigue down into your stomach, and whisper to yourself, "Do not be heavy." System armed. You treat a casual dinner like a tactical insertion, preparing to infiltrate a social gathering without tripping a single alarm of inconvenience. You are exhausted before you even say hello, because the preparation for the performance costs more energy than the event itself. 4. The public eye. Once inside the public sphere, your radar sweeps the room with military precision. You do not just enter a space, you calculate the path of least resistance. In the grocery aisle, you contort your body to avoid blocking a shelf for even a second, apologizing to people who haven't even seen you. At the party, you are the first to notice an empty glass, the first to offer a ride, the first to laugh at a bad joke to save the speaker from embarrassment. You are an air traffic controller for everyone else's emotions, ensuring their comfort while your own fuel tank flashes empty. You move through the crowd, dodging invisible collisions, convinced that if you stop moving, if you stop serving, you will become an obstacle. You have colonized every corner of your life with the fear of being too much. The pattern is total. There is no off switch. You have created a life where you are constantly auditing your own volume, turning the knob down until you are nothing but background noise. You believe that this strategy is sustainable because it has worked so far. You have successfully navigated the minefield of social existence without detonating a single conflict. However, the ledger is unbalanced, and the debt is accumulating in a currency you cannot afford to lose. You are currently engaging in a catastrophic trade. You are exchanging intimacy for safety. This is the brutal calculus of your survival strategy. To be truly intimate is to be burdensome. It is to lean, to demand, to be heavy, to require support. By refusing to be a burden, you are effectively refusing to be loved. You are surrounding yourself with people who love your output, your helpfulness, and your low-friction presence, but who have no concept of your internal landscape. You are the protagonist of a tragedy who has convinced the audience it is a comedy, smiling through the third act while the walls close in. You are not building relationships, you are building non-aggression pacts. You are paying for a seat at the table by agreeing not to eat. Consider the projection of this trajectory over the next 10 years. The repression of needs is not a passive act, it is an active, caloric expenditure. It requires massive amounts of energy to hold the beach ball of your reality underwater. Eventually, the muscles fail. The cost will manifest somatically. The unexpressed no turns into insomnia. The swallowed anger turns into chronic inflammation. The denied sadness turns into a heavy, grey fatigue that sleep cannot touch. Your body, having been ignored for decades, will eventually scream to be heard, forcing you into the very state of dependency you spent your life trying to avoid. The ultimate irony is that by trying so hard not to be a burden, you eventually become a casualty. When you finally collapse, because you will collapse, the people around you will be shocked. They will say, "I had no idea," and they will be telling the truth. You never gave them the chance to know. You protected them from your humanity until the weight of it crushed you. You denied them the opportunity to help you, to carry you, to be a true friend. You thought you were saving them from the trouble of knowing you, but in reality, you were robbing them of the connection they signed up for. You are left with a perfectly preserved reputation and a disintegrated self. You have kept the peace, certainly, yet you have done so by waging a secret, silent war against your own existence, a war that leaves no survivors. There is no resolution here. The screen does not fade to white with a happy ending where you suddenly start shouting your needs from the rooftops. You will wake up tomorrow and the reflex will still be there. You will still instinctively shrink when someone walks into the room. The neural pathways are carved deep into the bedrock of your brain, and they do not vanish simply because you have named them. The fear of expulsion is ancient, and it is patient. But the perspective has shifted. You now see the silence not as a sanctuary, but as a waiting room. You see that your refusal to be a burden is not a gift to the world, it is a wall you have built against it. You realize that weight is a property of existence. To have mass is to have gravity. To be real is to indent the world around you. By refusing to make an impact, you are slowly rendering yourself fictitious. You have spent a lifetime trying to be light, only to realize that the people who truly love you are waiting for you to land. The heavy thing in your chest, the need, the want, the fatigue, is not a flaw. It is the tether that connects you to the human race. You can keep cutting the cord to stay afloat, drifting higher into the cold, safe isolation of the upper atmosphere. Or you can let the gravity take you. The choice remains unresolved. The phone is in your hand, the words are in your throat. The risk is absolute. And as the silence stretches out, one question remains echoing in the empty space you've protected for so long. If you finally let yourself fall, would anyone actually be there to catch you?